Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's Last Post ceremony. My name is Richard Cruz, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Air Force is leading aircraftman Tyler Cooper. Today, we remember and commemorate the Battle of Framel. On the 19th of July 1916, the last of the Australians to arrive in France from Egypt became the first to take part in a major operation when the 5th Australian Division joined the 61st British Division in an attack on German positions near Framel. A feint designed to draw Germans' reserves away from the Battle of the Somme to the south, the operation was conducted in broad daylight under direct observation and heavy machine gun fire. It was a disaster. In less than 24 hours, 5,533 Australians became casualties, some 2,000 of those dead. The 61st Division, having contributed about a third of the attacking force, suffered over 1,500 casualties. Realising the significance of Framel to our young nation, Charles Bean returned to walk over the ground on the day of the armistice to think, reflect, and record before the battlefield returned to peace. We found the old man's land simply full of our dead. The skulls and bones and torn uniforms were lying about everywhere. He described Framel as one of the bravest and most hopeless assaults ever undertaken by the AIF. Tonight we welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. We acknowledge the members of RSL and Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria and RSL Queensland, who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. And during this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the pool of reflection by visitors to the memorial. Australia's Federation Guard is a tri-service ceremonial unit of the Australian Defence Force. They provide a ceremonial presence at civil and military events and during visits to Australia by foreign dignitaries. The Guard will now dismount the catapult party from the tomb of the unknown Australian soldier. If you're able, please stand and join in singing the National Anthem. If you're able, please be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn their loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight we'll read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths and floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the pool of reflection.
Today, we remember and pay tribute to Private Cecil Lancelot Lake. Cecil Lake was born on the 11th of February 1888 in Yackandandah, Victoria. He was the son of John and Wilhelmina Lake, who in later years ran the Exchange Hotel in Forster, in the Gippsland region of Victoria. Cecil received his education at Melbourne Scotch College and as a young adult took up employment as a driver while helping his widowed mother to manage their hotel. Cecil Lake enlisted in the Australian Imperial Force on the 6th of December 1915 when he was 28 years old. He was assigned to the 58th Battalion with the rank of private and embarked from Melbourne on board the troopship Euripides on the 4th of April 1916. He arrived in Egypt in June, spending just days there before boarding the troopship Kinfauns Castle destined for France. Lake joined his unit on the Western Front at the end of June, where they were preparing for their first major action in France, at the Battle of Framel. The battle began on the 19th of July, and troops were tasked with attacking the German front line surrounding the treacherous Sugarloaf salient. The heavily manned salient extended outwards into no man's land, offering the enemy an advantageous position from which it could fire at advancing troops from multiple directions. Bombardment of enemy lines had been taking place for 3 days before the beginning of the battle, and the Allies were confident that the enemy had not survived it, and that they could easily capture their objectives. Unfortunately, the bombardment only signalled to the enemy that they should anticipate an attack, allowing them time to prepare. The enemy survived the shelling and was able to quickly man machine guns and begin their own bombardment once the Allied shells stopped falling. The advancing Allied troops walked into a relentless hail of machine gun fire which decimated several waves of Australian soldiers. Lake's battalion attacked during the first wave and suffered heavy casualties as a result of German machine gun fire. While the 59th did not capture its objective, the German front line was eventually reached by other men. Due to the overall failure of the battle, however, the troops were forced to withdraw. In just one night, Australian casualties stood at a staggering 5,533 killed, missing or wounded. Official war historian Charles Bean labelled the attack the worst 24 hours in Australian history. Hundreds of men were missing, including Private Cecil Lake. None of his comrades saw him after jumping the parapet on the 19th of July, 1916. His body was never recovered from the battlefield, and he was declared killed in action the following month in August 1916. News of the young private's death was reported in the local newspaper. Quite a gloom passed over Forster Township on Monday morning when the sad news of Private Cecil Lake having been killed was circulated. He had not long been in the firing line when the unfortunate mishap occurred. The deepest sympathy is felt on all sides for the bereaved mother and family. With no known grave, Cecil Lake is commemorated at the VC Corner Memorial near Framel in northern France. His name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my right, amongst almost 62,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. His photograph is displayed today beside the Pool of Reflection. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Private Cecil Lancelot Lake, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
lest we forget.
Lest we forget.
Catapult party, shoulder, arm. Catapult party, inwards, turn. Catapult party, quick, march.
We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes this evening's last post ceremony. We thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial and wish you all a very good evening. Thank you.